welcome. Thank you for joining today, and we will be practicing just under 1 hour today, a roll and release class. And for the roll and release class, we need 2 tennis balls or 2 spiky balls if you have them. You're welcome to use the spiky balls as well. Or you can use whatever other balls. I have these specific ones that are for roll and release called yoga tune-up balls. We also need a pillow and a yoga mat, but if you don't have a yoga mat, you can just use a towel or you can use a blanket. Okay. I've also got a strap here today in case you want to use a strap. You can use a tie or you can use a rope if you don't have one, or a resistance band. So that's what we need today, and a blanket would be helpful as well. So just setting yourself up for the first posture. Before we do that, just keeping everything quite close by and on hand, your tennis balls and your pillow, because we're going to be using that for our first posture. But for the moment, come to a comfortable lying position, and that might be with the pillow or without. We are going to start lying down today. And I wanted to invite in this intention of observing change. And when we practice, we often notice very subtle nuances of change. With change in the body, change of the thoughts, change of emotions, change of feelings and sensations. So that sort of intention to observe the change and noticing the sensations as they sort of shift and move in your body. And with that, I also wanted to read a little poem that might help bring us into that sort of mindset for the practice today. And this is from the Soltereno Mindful Poems. It's called Change. Obviously, I love this poem. I'll just read that as an introduction to our class today. So as you come into a comfortable position, you might choose to close down your eyes as I read this poem, and just to start to begin to tune into the body and the breath, and allowing the body to settle and to relax as best as you can, letting go of the day and coming to the mat. Change. The clouds lift and the mountains suddenly white, merging with grey, black sky and light. Everything changes. Bare branches suddenly adorned with blossom scarlet, amaryllis, outrageous in bloom, and now the sky lilac and lavender, and already the snow melting and fading. Let go of the clinging and join the dance. Let soft body and supple mind join the ongoing flow of life. Each moment of glory or despair, it is just as it is, as long as it is, and it passes. Be the flow, the movement, the flicker of light on the hillside. Be in every now, not just this now. Be the music and the dance. So practicing with that intention to observe the changes, the subtle changes, however subtle they might be in the body today, coming back to the breath as we move and shift into the shapes. So with that in mind, we're going to come into our first posture and grab hold of our pillow and our 2 tennis balls. And with this roll and release class, there are 3 different ways to roll. One is to compress, and I'll show you that as we're coming to the first movement. One is to shear, and one is to roll. So being mindful of any sharp shooting pain, if there is anything that doesn't feel right, then move out of that posture or release the tennis balls. Okay, I'm going to come down and start. And knowing your own body too, if you know that there's a certain amount of sensitivity, you can just choose to use one ball instead of two. I'm going to come down to a lying position and just pop the pillow underneath your bottom and take a little moment here to grab hold of both tennis balls in the hands, and then just slowly let your knees roll from left to right. And as you do so, it's just like windscreen wiping from left to right, just loosening up through the hips, and then moving your arms out wide from left to right on the mat. So taking the arms out, a T shape out to the sides of the body. And again, listening to the body. If anything doesn't feel right today, then changing the shape or posture and modifying as you need. And then we're just going to let the legs slowly relax and walk your feet outwards slightly to the edge of the mat and drop the knees inwards towards one another. Just letting the hips ease. And then we're just going to nod our head from left to right, yes, no. So just letting the head roll from left to right very gently. And noticing what it feels like in the upper body now as you release some of the tightness and tension perhaps here in through the neck and shoulders, moving very gently and subtly, letting the head roll from left to right. Slowing the pace right down now. Anchoring back to the body, coming home to this body. And then letting the head come back in line with the body. I'm going to take a moment just to pause, to land, noticing what it's like to be lying here and feeling that solidarity of the earth beneath you. The feet flat on the floor, the knees bent, the hips raised on the pillow. The arms out wide, and the head ease forward, top the shoulders. And now gently starting to move into the right arm or the left, it doesn't matter which way you start. I'm going to drop the arm across the body. So I'm going to lift our right arm across the body and place the tennis ball in around the fleshy area, the back of the shoulder. So just pop that in and see how that feels for you. You might need to move it around a little bit. And then we're going to pop the left hand and crisscross that arm across the body and pop the tennis ball in on the right hand side. So we have two tennis balls placed in just below the neck, in the fleshy areas of the shoulders, but not on the spine. So not on the vertebra. And then just see what that feels like for you today. The reason why we've raised our hips is to take some of the sting, some of that real intensity out of the compression here, out of that sensation. So now what I'm doing is I'm just gently rolling from left to right now. I'm letting my shoulders lift and lower. So the shoulders lift towards the ear from left to right. And then I might choose to compress, where I just stop and feel the sensations and letting the tennis balls work their way into any tightness. And if it's too much to compress, then what we can do is raise the arms and just cross the arms, and we can shear, where we're just jiggling on the tennis balls, and that could be a nice sensation or manageable sensation. So we have rolling, jiggling, which is sort of like shearing the tennis balls, and compressing. And we'll be doing this throughout the practice. So there's no real wrong or right way to do this. We're just sort of feeling our way into the sensations. As long as there's no sharp shooting pain and no numbness, what we do want to sort of move towards is perhaps a little bit of an edginess, maybe a little bit of sensation there that does feel.
Oh, plenty of that.
Yeah, plenty of sensation, yeah. So we can feel the tightness and the knots. So it's a little bit like manual therapy. We are just working at our own pace and choosing to move into those tight areas carefully, but also with some sort of exploration, yeah. And another nice thing to do, that Adelena's doing as well in this movement, is to lift the arms up towards the sky and explore the very different aspects of sensations. So we can move the arms up and overhead if your arms will allow for that. And then we can move the arms back down again. And that will change the way that it feels, the different sensations. And then moving the arms out and then back in can also change the way. So crisscrossing the arms across the body and then moving them back out again will very much change the sensations. So remember, the intention of the practice is change, and to notice this change as you come back to the body. Very intentional, placing our awareness on these sensations as we move and explore. And if you've explored one area, you might choose to move the tennis balls slightly again, just in different areas of that shoulder region, and explore other areas. And as you do that, you might notice that there's quite a fair amount of sensation again as you change the shape. You might shear or roll or compress again, so just exploring every time something new. There's often a lot of tightness in this upper region, so perhaps if it feels okay to move into some of those areas that feel tight, as long as it's not risky. So just exploring again that sort of naughty but nice feeling. It's sometimes very pleasant, sometimes very unpleasant. So seeing how we feel as we move and explore. There's usually lots of ahs and ahs in these classes. Lots of sensation. So we'll spend another minute exploring this upper region, which is near the neck muscles, but sort of down in around the shoulder muscles, the shoulders here. It gets a little bit more gnarly as we come out towards the bony aspects of the shoulders, so we might want to keep focusing on the fleshy aspects. You might also choose to let the head roll from left to right, or maybe even lean your body into each tennis ball from left to right. So that could be a nice option as well. Last 10 seconds here in this region. I like to pause here for a little bit because there's usually quite a fair bit of sensation and often a lot of tension. And then I'm going to slowly roll off those tennis balls and just move the cushion aside from the buttocks at the moment. And just let go of that upper neck region for a moment and just let everything sort of come back to where it started. It will be different though, it will feel different. You might feel some heat in that area or coolness, or maybe you might feel some tingling. The remainder of the movement of the tennis balls. And then when you're ready, we're going to place the tennis balls just into the mid-back muscles. So I'm going to place them around here, but just being mindful of the rib cage, sort of in that mid-back area. But we are going to lift our sit bones off the ground because it can be quite intense. So with that in mind, you might again think that, oh, I do need a little bit of support with the pillow. So you're welcome to leave the pillow underneath the buttocks. Or you can let go of the pillow, and there's a bit more effort in the upper thighs and the core and the belly. So if you feel like a little bit more effort today, working a little bit harder, then you could use this posture, or if you want some support, you can pop the cushion back underneath the buttocks. And we're just going to move around that mid-back area. And again, not on the vertebra, just being mindful of the vertebra, but just placing the two tennis balls in on either side and choosing to roll. You can roll across, you'll feel a lot of sensation there. You might choose to compress once you find an area that you think needs a little bit more attention. Or you might jiggle and shear if it's too much. So just exploring all these different sensations in the body. How are we going? Okay. You can land your sit bones on the ground, but that will be a lot more intense. So your sit bones can connect to earth, but you will find that it can be quite intense, especially in this back area. And then when you sort of feel like you've worked that area, you might be curious as to what it's like to move it down the length of the spine a little bit more to where the kidney area is, perhaps. So we're just moving downwards, shearing, rolling, compressing. So bringing a lot of fresh new blood, hydration, soaking all these areas. That's why we always feel great after a massage, because we've manipulated and brought fresh oxygen with the manipulation. So the same idea. It's like a pin cushion. It springs back to life after we take the tennis balls away. And we can really feel that sort of blood rush, this rebound, the change. So jiggling, shearing, compressing. And again, keep moving the tennis balls. We're going to make our way slowly down towards the lower half of the body eventually. So you want to move those trigger points and come down bit by bit. And then as you start to come down a bit lower, you're going to feel something different again each time. Being mindful of any injuries or any areas that you know are a little bit tender. Feeling your way in with that attitude of kindness and compassion, being really kind, aware. You should be starting to sort of roll down towards the upper part of the lower back. So rolling, shearing, compressing. The balls will need to be moved. You might need to replace them all the time because the movement of your body will separate the tennis balls. So just managing that. Compressing as you need. Perhaps even closing down your eyes if that feels right for you, to really notice what's here for you now. Just noticing the sensations. Leaning in towards both the pleasant and perhaps even the unpleasant, seeing what it feels like to be with both, or maybe the neutral aspects of the feeling tones here. begin to sort of start taking it down towards the lower half of the back. And as you do so, you might notice that your sit bones can sort of sink down a little bit deeper onto the tennis balls, and maybe even taking in one knee as an option to roll around and shear compress. That could be an option today. You could even move into the hip space by gently rolling the hip. Or if that doesn't feel right for you, keeping both feet anchoring it to the earth and just noticing what you need. So some options: lifting one knee into the chest for a different sensation, or perhaps both feet anchoring onto the floor. I also like to sort of flex and extend my pelvis, so I like to let my pelvis sort of move like a wave, so lifting up and down. It's another way of shearing into different sensations. So pelvis, tailbone sifts down towards the ground and then lifts up like a little bit of a cat-cow movement in yoga, or just sort of flossing the spine down the bottom. So that could be a nice option as well. And just being, again, really mindful not to go too deep, not to bruise, but just to feel your way in, see what you need here. Shifting, rolling and compressing. And now we should be sort of way down towards the buttocks and just going into the fleshy areas of the buttocks and just really moving into that sensation. We can shift and wiggle out through the hips, wiggle the pelvis. We might even choose to draw left and right knee in to compress if that feels alright. So everyone has a different way of moving into these sensations, so just choosing which is best for you today.
What?
Yeah, feeling all that. Noticing all the different angry areas and then the not so angry areas, particularly around the buttocks. It can be quite intense. So take another minute or so here, just really exploring this lower end of the body, down towards the tailbone now, shifting, shearing, rolling, compressing. I'm going to leave one or two tennis balls here, your choice, as we lift our right leg and crisscross it over the left for a little bit of, so you can choose to leave both there and move into a figure four if you wish. We might need to move the tennis balls in closer towards the vertebra, towards the spine and the tailbone, or you might choose to take it out So I'm going to leave that up to you. It's quite intense when you move into figure four, so it might not be right for you to lift your thigh in. It could be too much today. Otherwise, feel free to just keep the foot anchoring onto the ground, yeah? And then we can shear and we can roll into the outer edges of the hip space on the right side. So it's like we're shearing outwards now, out towards the thigh bone, yeah? So we're going to shear down and then out. So just dipping down into that right hip bone across the buttock area. Now if it's too intense, then maybe take one tennis ball away. That might be an option. Or you might continue on. I'm just stay here for a minute or so, jiggling, shearing, rolling and compressing, maybe feeling the full effect of the figure four if we want to compress. Again, just a reminder to take care if you feel any sharp shooting pain, if there's any numbness or anything that doesn't feel right, then just modify, change the shape, change the way that you're rolling, or change the tennis ball position. And then we're going to slowly drop down both legs again and then lift the left leg up and start working into figure four on the left side. So figure four on the left side, yep. And then we'll feel something very different here again. sometimes very different to the right side. Again, noticing the change in the sensation. And your choice to come into the full figure four if you wish to compress. And placing the tennis balls where you feel you can or where it feels okay and safe to, without too much intensity. Just moving in gently. And just maybe another 30 seconds on this left side, shearing or landing or drawing the knee in. And really allowing yourself to roll out to the outer edge of that left buttock so that we sort of bring awareness and attention to that side as well. And slowly let that go now. So the option here is to remove the tennis balls or to keep them somewhere in the fleshy aspect of the buttocks down towards the pointy edges of the sit bones, and extend your legs coming into pentacle and just compressing here on the pointy edges of the sit bones. Now if it's not manageable, if it's not available, then perhaps you might need to get rid of the tennis balls. So often we'll be clenching the tennis balls in anticipation of a lot of sensation. So we might just bend the knees a little bit and relax the buttocks and the muscles. Just easing, just here, seeing how that feels. Taking a moment just to pause here, a little bit of compression. Right at the bottom edge of the buttocks, so right down the bottom. letting the whole body, as much as you can, relax and soften into the earth. Just coming back to the body and noticing here the sensations again, perhaps some tingling or warmth from the effort of rolling, shearing and compressing. Now I'm going to take a moment to slowly release those tennis balls from underneath the buttocks and step into both feet, bending the knees. And then again a little windscreen wipe just to let go. Noticing again how the body feels after that. I'm going to take a moment to flip over onto our fronts. So you can just, I'm going to turn around this way so you can see me. But you can just flip around, you don't have to look at me, or you can flip to the front. You can, wherever you want to go. I'm going to come into a little relaxed cobra here. So this position is optional. I'm going to take the Pilates ball or the tennis ball just above in the fleshy areas of the thighs, but not on the groin area because we don't want to compress the nerve, the large nerve there. So we can stay in a little mini back bend, or if it's not right for your body, you can stay down here today with your hands underneath your head and just to shear, compress or roll into the tennis balls onto the fleshy aspects of the thighs. So you can use that rolling sensation to move that tennis ball or the muscles around the tennis ball, the fascia. If you come up into this cobra, it's a little bit more intense and you'll feel more sensation, yeah? You might even choose to feel a little bit more sensation by letting the heels lift up towards the sky, or one at a time. You'll feel a little bit more again. So just, again, monitoring and managing your own sensations. And if it's too much on the lower back, we can stay down here as an option. You might find that's quite intense on the thigh. It is for me. So, it's very intense. So just feeling your way again into that pressure point, the trigger point. And then choosing to stop, to roll, to shear, compress, whatever you need. And exploring other areas of the front of the thigh, you might take it out to the side a little bit once you've left it there for a bit, and again repositioning. Maybe there's not much sensation, maybe there's more. So just sort of edging your way out to the outer edges and exploring again. And you can move up so that you draw the tennis balls now down towards the centre. Ooh, and that can be quite intense. So exploring that area again. It might be that you have to lift the belly off the ground a little bit in order to do so, or to come down to relax into it, so it's not as intense. haven't done the front thighs yet, I don't think, so different today. And then lastly, we'll sort of move up again, so we sort of walk up a little bit more to the tops of the thighs again, being very mindful not to bruise, but just to feel your way into it and just noticing what you can work with. So shearing, compressing on the tops of the thighs, just above the knee now. So we're sort of moving along that area, or compressing. And now we're going to slowly let our legs roll out from left to right. So we're going to take our legs out quite wide, but leave the tennis balls where they are so that they sort of roll into the inner thighs and a bit of a jiggle here. So you should be sort of just above the knees, somewhere in there, and just below the upper thighs. And just to jiggle around there. Again, your choice, you can come up to feel that, or you can stay down low, yeah? So you're going now sort of on the inseam of the inner thighs and feeling that there with the legs out wide and managing that. That's the last area we'll do on this front thigh. Maybe bending the knees, a little bit more pressure, maybe rolling across, squeezing and rolling. So there's so many different ways we can feel the various sensations, just changing as you need. So your body, there's no real right or wrong way. The most important thing here is to know how it feels in your own body. So what does it feel like? How does it feel? Is it risky? Is it sharp shooting pain? We move. Is it a bit edgy, but we can maintain and we can manage? So just asking ourselves that question each time and just noticing how it shows up in the body. This is that mindful movement, sort of like a mindful moving meditation. And from here, I'm going to take a little bow down to earth now and just move those tennis balls out from underneath. Take a moment to pause again, so just to release the hips, release the lower back, wiggle that out, come back to the breath in the body, and just take a minute here just to allow all those sensations to marinate, to just really immerse and just allow them to be here. Bring your awareness of tension again back onto the body. And then very gently allowing yourself to come in back into a child's pose, to just ease away from that back bend that you had there for a while. And we can choose, when we come into our child's pose, to use the tennis ball again if you wish, to place the forehead down and just come down in your child's pose. It might be a more active child's pose today, where you come almost into a little back bend, or if you're happy to stay down here, then you can stay here and just let the tennis ball land somewhere in between the eyes, the brow. It's often a really nice pressure point area there. Sometimes it can be a bit tight around the sinus area in between the brows. So just allowing your head to become heavy as you can. And if you can manage this sensation, just compressing here now in between the brows, just above the line of the nose, where the bridge of the nose is. Letting the shoulders ease and sitting back towards your heels in whatever way feels right for you. So don't worry about what the shape looks like, just coming into a comfortable child's pose. If you want a little bit more intensity, you can crisscross the arms to the back, forming a clasp from left to right. And just becoming aware and awake to the breath, noticing if we're holding the breath or restricting the breath in any way. Perhaps we can allow it to flow as best as we can again with that awareness. The next inhale, I'm going to slowly start to come away from that compression, the forehead, lifting the head off the ground very gently. I'm going to take hold of our pillow, hopefully it's not too far away, and bring it close to the body again. I'm going to lift up here with both knees and maybe tuck the toes under, and then take the tennis ball and place it just behind the knees. Now this is not for everyone, so just managing this again and being mindful of the knees. If there are any knee issues, then perhaps we don't want to come all the way back. Perhaps we might just very gently place them here and rock backwards and forwards into that compression. Some people can manage the sensation and come right back, or even come into a seat. So it really depends on your body, and there's no right or wrong, only what you're feeling in your body today. So being wary of that. So just managing that sensation. There's a little bit of compression in through the back of the knees and at the upper edge of that calf. Yeah. We can even do a marauding bear, which is a little bit like this, like a bear pose, where it's not as intense, but we're sort of just rolling from left to right. Hands are down. If there's any shoulder issues, that might not be available, so you might come down to the ground, stacking here, and that takes the intensity of that compression in the back of the knees. Does that feel alright? Yeah? It's quite intense, and again, your choice. If you like the compression, you can come all the way up, but if it's not for you, stay right down. You won't stay too long in this pose. And again, you might be curious as to what it's like to move and shift the compression, shifting it up the back of the calf. So again, this is your practice, so not needing to do anything in particular that doesn't feel right. If I'm doing something and you try and it doesn't feel good for you, then come out of the posture. Yeah? Or do what you need to take the sting out of the pose if you need less. I'm going to sit right back now. So if it's available again, I'm going to take the tennis balls right up towards the Achilles, and again just explore that range of movement. If that's not working for you today, maybe you want to flatten the toes and just gently sit down with lots of support in front of you. That could be a nice option here. The toes tucking might not be an option, and you can jiggle and share that out. I'm going to slowly allow the tennis balls, move them out, and then slowly, you might feel some blood rush or a little bit of heat in the back of the legs, maybe a little bit, yeah. I'm going to come back down to the ground. So just allow yourself to come all the way back down with the pillow, if you like this time. As you come back down to ground, I'm going to finish off with a little bit of a side bend twist. So without the tennis balls, but you can pop them under if you like. So I'm going to leave that as an option. I'm going to pop them away for the moment, but I'll show you where you might choose to put them. I'm going to take both knees in and just hug in, just massaging with the pillow behind your head and neck for a bit of support. Just massaging in, and then very gently, when you're ready, I'm going to take the knees over towards the left side or the right, doesn't matter where you start. And you might choose to grab hold of your tennis ball and just pop it underneath the sideline of the left thigh. Maybe, maybe not. Doesn't have to be too intense now as we start to wind down the practice. Just maybe letting it ease into the sideline or up into the upper area of the hip area. That area can be quite tight sometimes, so that might be a choice. And as you come into your twist, just noticing where your legs, you might double bind the legs, or you might just knock the knees together. And then maybe you might choose to let your head move over to the right side, looking away from the twist. Again, just noticing what your body does and doesn't need, what it can and can't do today. Today is different to tomorrow, so listening to your body. I'm just going to stay here for a minute or so in this nice deep twist. Has anyone got any stomach gurgles? Any gurgling in the tummy? That front line that we did is the stomach line in the pressure points in Chinese medicine, so my stomach's gurgling away. So if you have any gurgling, that's why. I'm going to slowly lift those legs back up towards the centre of the body, the centre line of the body, and then just gently massaging the lower back again into the earth, using the earth as that option to roll into. And then moving the arms out again to the side if you like. We're going to let the legs drop over to the opposite side now. And maybe you might choose to pop a tennis ball under that right outer edge of the hip. To that tiny, it's a little area there, it's quite a white fleshy ligament called the TFL. It's quite a lot of sensation there because it's often quite tight, right at the top there. If that doesn't feel right, then you might just get rid of the ball altogether and come into your twist and stay here for a minute. into a neutral position now, letting go of the tennis balls, letting go of all effort, and just coming back into star pose or corpse pose or whatever you know it as, lying down on the ground, letting the legs be nice and soft and heavy, the feet rolling out, let your arms roll out, and if you need a blanket you might choose to place a blanket on top of your feet or on your body. I'm just going to stay here for a couple of minutes now to enjoy all the fruits of your labour, everything that you've done today, rolling, the manual therapy of the rolling, all the benefits, letting the body come to rest now. And if it feels right for you, closing down the eyes. If it doesn't, you might just choose to keep them open slightly with a soft gaze. Expanding that awareness now back into the whole body and just noticing how the body is for you right now. So as you begin to expand your awareness into the whole body, you may choose to stay just as you are for the next few moments, for the next few minutes, for the next 10 minutes. As we bring this practice to a close, allowing yourself just to absorb everything that you have cultivated in this practice, remembering all the various aspects of sensation, the changes that you observed. And when you do eventually begin to move and shift your body, there's no hurry, or let you do that in your own time, just shifting carefully. When you do come up into a seated position again, eventually you'll start to move and shift in the way that feels good for you. And when you end your practice today, just making sure that you drink some water and taking care of yourself for the rest of the day. Thank you for joining me today for this roll and release practice. My name is Monique and we are at Soltareno.